Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast, powered by Healthy Steps Nutrition. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping you become the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or going to the gym a few hours a week. We focus on a holistic framework addressing stress management, mindset, lifestyle, sleep, support system, and of course, exercise and nutrition. My name is Nicole Coyne, and I'm one of the dietitians and the founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. You can find it on Amazon. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to take one step at a time to making health a way of life. Today's podcast is talking all about your mindset around eating healthy and seeing food as fuel so that we can focus on health, wellness, and ultimately increasing performance if that is your goal. We will get to this podcast with Kayla Pollock right after this message. Did you know that Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ is hosting a 28-day health, wellness, and performance nutrition challenge? That's right, it kicks off on February 13th, but individual appointments that are happening with the registered dietitians in person or virtually are starting February 1st. We are only opening up 30 spots, and I think we have about 10 spots left for participants to join. So if you are ready to invest your time, energy, and resources into your health and wellness, and you're looking for a guide to help you and a community to support you, we would love to walk beside you. Click the link in the show notes and lock in your spot to the 28-day Health, Wellness, and Performance Nutrition Challenge today. This challenge includes 2 individual appointments with a registered dietitian, community support within the Healthy Steps Nutrition app, habit tracking focusing on 4 pillars: nutrition, stress management and mindset, sleep, and daily movement. We are so excited to help this group of people prioritize their health and wellness and kickstart their journey to health. Now go ahead and lock in your spot by clicking the link in the show notes today. Let's get to this episode with Kayla Pollock, all on seeing food as fuel. Enjoy. Kayla, welcome to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So excited to talk today about all things nutrition and really the mindset around food and it being fuel instead of this restrictive mindset. You know, we're in this season, wrapping up January when we're recording this podcast, last day of January. It's diet season right now. Everyone sets New Year's resolutions around weight loss and getting healthy and getting exercise. And actually more people this year set New Year's resolutions around mindset and mental health, which is really cool. But we're about at the point that 80% of people who make New Year's resolutions will have given up on them. And I really think it comes down to this fundamental piece of this restrictive diet mentality. You know, people go on these diets, they cut out a ton of stuff. It's not sustainable. And most people regain the weight that they worked really hard to lose. And I'm really hoping that this conversation today inspires someone to rethink how and what they eat. And then most importantly, connecting it to their health, their wellness, and their performance. I think it would be maybe kind of cool for us to start with maybe an aha moment that you had. I know I had one, and why we're sitting here today is I was in college my freshman year, and I remember cheering for the University of Florida. And I remember there being days where I would literally just eat a granola bar because I thought that if I was super restrictive, that I would look a certain way and, you know, fit into a uniform a certain way. When in reality, the thing that I was doing was slowing my metabolism. I always was tired. I never felt well. I wasn't performing. I wasn't gaining any muscle with all of the exercise that we were doing because we weren't fueling our bodies. And you know, for me, they sent us all to a dietitian. And I remember that conversation in that dietitian's office. And she started talking to me about food being fuel. And it was like this aha light bulb moment for me. And I knew that my mindset had to change around the food that I was eating being fuel for my body so that I could perform and do my best. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up and being super influenced in the 90s and early 2000s, that was the decade when stick thin models, or what you would see on magazine covers, on TV, advertised everywhere. And this time I was such a young female, and it's sad because it's cyclical. I'm still seeing that today, but in my own experience, as you kind of hit that aha moment that food is fuel, for so long, the narrative to me was food was the enemy. And if you want to look a certain way, the only answer is eating less. So a lot of similarities in our story that led us down this path, which I think has just made me so passionate about wanting to change that narrative, not only for myself and my daughter, but anybody else that will hear my message, because it's so incredibly important.
I think at some point people are going to realize that like the diet, the yo-yo, the going super restrictive and then regaining it all, they're going to get tired and realize something has to change. And that mindset of I can't have this, or I can't do that, or I ate this yesterday and I cheated has to go away. And we have to understand that the food we eat is fueling our body to help us become the best and healthiest version of ourselves, or slowing that process down of reaching our ultimate goal.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things actually to tell my clients is I truly believe there is no such thing as a good versus bad food, but there are just foods out there that might better align with the goals that you're wanting to achieve. And that has been really fun for me to share, and really important for a lot of my clients to hear over and over and over again.
I would challenge people that are listening to this podcast, to think about how they think about food. When you eat a certain way, are you feeling guilty about it? You don't need to earn a piece of food. If you want a treat, have a treat and then move on. But it's so interesting to see all of the different diets out there. I just had someone come into the gym this week and they said that their past personal trainer gave them a diet that was super low carb one day, alternated by super high carb, back to super low carb the whole week. And then there's one cheat day. How are you going to consistently make a lifestyle change that's going to be sustainable if you're constantly on this like different path every single day? And then the idea of a cheat day is mind blowing to me, right? Like you're causing your brain to think that you did something bad because you cheated, versus have a treat and then move on.
Yeah. And it all dials back into the baseline, the foundation, which is that relationship with your body and the relationship with your food. So important.
Let's actually dive into it. So let's start with the basics here. The first core principle at Healthy Steps Nutrition is whole foods first. We do this for a number of reasons, but one is if you're eating more whole foods first, that means naturally you're going to eat less of the processed junk that's probably not in line with your health and wellness goals. So when I talk about whole foods first, I'm talking about meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, minimal excess added sugar. So if we start there, the whole foods are all foods are made up of 3 macronutrients. We've got protein, carbs, and fats. Those are the nutrients that provide us calories. Let's just start with talking about those macronutrients, what their role is in the body for overall health, but then also we'll kind of tie into performance too.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess starting off with protein, as that seems to be everybody's favorite macronutrient to talk about, especially in the performance world. We all probably know that it is the building blocks of our muscle, but protein is so important for many other reasons. One of my favorite things to talk about is it is literally making up every single enzyme in our body. And enzymes, I like to say, make the world or our bodies go round, because without them, our bodies are not working as efficiently as they should be, which helps us with our hormone regulation and our immune function. And if we've learned nothing else over the last few years, it's that hormone health and a healthy immune system are critically important.
And just ultimately helping us feel our best, right? I think for a lot of clients, they're not getting enough protein because we're not consuming it with every meal and snack. And there's such a tie between having protein with all of the meals and snacks that you eat and how you feel, feeling full and satisfied to not want to go back and start grazing on other foods later down the line. So we want to make sure that we're having enough protein throughout the day. An easy starting point is make sure that you're having protein with every meal and snack. We have to have enough protein because you mentioned first, like in regards to performance, those are the building blocks of muscle. So if we're not getting enough protein, we're not going to be able to build the muscle that we're working really hard for in the gym.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely see, I like that you said meal and snacks. Snacks with my clients are the biggest area for improvement when it comes to protein, because oftentimes all the processed, quick, easy grab and go snacks don't have the protein that we need. So that's where that deficiency is really coming in. And when we can prioritize protein in our snacks, we also start prioritizing that whole foods approach. So I love how it's all interrelated with each other.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. Let's kind of dive into the second macronutrient. So carbohydrates, that's like the biggest umbrella, right? But I also think it's the one that gets quite a bit in seasons, bad rap, right? A lot of different low carb, high protein diets out there of all sorts of names. I've heard one recently that was lion diet. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this one before. But basically, carbohydrates play a major role in the body. It's our body's main source of fuel. We can have carbohydrates. We just want to look at the types of carbohydrates that we have. There's a big umbrella, and a lot of people don't even realize some of the food that they're eating is actually a carbohydrate. We have bread, pasta, cereal, rice. We've got fruit, we've got juice, we've got a lot of the packaged and processed stuff in there because companies understand when you combine sugar and salt and fat together, it's super addicting in our brain. It causes us to crave more and more. Why is that good for companies? That means you buy more of their product. It's coming off of the shelves. So you'll notice a lot of the processed stuff has added sugar, has added carbohydrates in there that we don't necessarily need.
Yeah, but we do need the carbohydrate aspect for energy. As you said, it is our main source of fuel. And when I say that, the one I really like to remind people of is our brains only use glucose, which is broken down carbohydrates, for energy. It is a vital nutrient or macronutrient that our body utilizes a lot of. And so when we think about that, we do want to get carbohydrates in moderation and balance, of course, and we want to choose those whole food options. So we are limiting the other added things that come in those packages, such as the added sugar, which we know promotes inflammation in the body.
Speaking of added sugar, when you look at added sugar, unregulated blood sugar, when you look at the 9 out of the 10 top leading causes of death in the United States, 9 of them are worsened or caused by elevated blood sugar, which comes down to us over consuming processed carbohydrates and sugar. But you're right, we do need some. What a lot of people don't realize is those non-starchy vegetables, they have a little bit of carbohydrates in there, but they also have a ton of fiber, a ton of vitamins and minerals that we want to have. Like, let's load up on that stuff first. And then also the fruit that we have, let's have some fruit, right? Vitamins, minerals, nutrients. And then let's also look at the low glycemic starches to add as well. You might have some potatoes in there, even some of our starchy vegetables.
Oh, yeah. And for most of you probably listening at this point, you'll recognize when I say eat the rainbow. And we're not talking about Skittles at this point, but we're talking about eating a variety of different colored fruits and vegetables because, our structure equals the function, and having a variety of different colors and fruits and veggies provides us with the variety of micronutrients that we truly need for optimal health. So it is so important for those whole foods, getting a variety of color and not shying away from eating fruits, even though we know that they do contain carbohydrates or sugar.
Having them in moderation is absolutely great to have, paired with protein and our last macronutrient, which is fat. Now, fat plays a vital role in our body as well as absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, and K. There's a lot of research between vitamin D deficiencies, and disease, and even cancer. So we want to make sure that we're getting adequate vitamin Ds. This is something that we would want to get our levels checked every year to see, are we getting enough vitamin D? Our body makes it, but sometimes where you are in Chicago, it's a little bit tough for your skin to get the vitamin D versus me in South South Florida, where we can walk around with tank tops pretty much all year round.
Absolutely. And, when we have this fat and we are getting those fat soluble vitamins D, for example, it has a huge role, not in, just digestion, metabolism, those types of things, but also in performance. And for us females, when we really think about it, bone density, really important for that, as well as hormone regulation.
So fat is an interesting one because there's a lot of foods, dairy and animal products that contain fat, but then there's also foods that are the primary macronutrient is fat, such as oils, seeds, avocados, another great example, that have something called omega-3 fatty acids. Now, omega-3s are something that helps to fight inflammation. There's a ton of research behind omega-3s in brain health, mental health. For all of you guys that set New Year's resolutions related to mindset and mental health, omega-3s is a really good option that you would want to consume on a regular basis. Our nuts are going to be a great option. Also, fatty fish like wild caught salmon would be a great source of omega-3s to consume on a regular basis. Anything else you want to add around fat?
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about fat, we have to remember a little bit is going to go a long way. So when we think about carbohydrates and protein, we get 4 calories for every gram. For an equal amount of fat, we're getting 9 calories, which is why I think fat is also up there with carbohydrates for getting a bad rep there, because it can get out of hand quickly. So this is one of those things that I do actually spend more time with my clients talking about measuring and being mindful about it. Peanut butter, I know my daughter and it can get out of hand really quickly. So staying mindful with some indulgent treats like that when it's fat-based can go a really long way in regards to health and wellness goals.
Even something as simple as like roasting vegetables, if you're pouring oil over the veggies versus having the spray thing that you can buy on Amazon. I'll link it in the show notes. That's one of our favorite tools to use when we're roasting vegetables. It cuts down the amount of oil that you're using significantly. So you want to have fat. Absolutely. Just be mindful of how much you're having and be mindful of the portion sizes of the meats that you're having, because those also are going to have fat as well. But you want fat because fat slows down digestion and will ultimately keep you full longer. So as you're starting to think about making changes that are sustainable, you don't want to feel hungry all the time. You want to feel full and satisfied. So if you're adding more veggies in, non-starchy vegetables, adding a little bit of fat, pairing that with your protein and having a little starch, that's going to help have this balanced meal that's going to stabilize your blood sugar, keep you full, long, and satisfied, and also providing you the vitamins and minerals you need to ultimately live your best life and healthiest life. Let's kind of change gears here and talk about hydration and water consumption.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite things to talk about, mainly because, Nicole, I don't know if you know this, but even as a dietitian, I was really bad about drinking enough water. And it wasn't until I started following your tips where you said, get a water bottle and drink out of a straw, that it clicked for me. And my anecdotal story on how much better I felt when I started drinking enough water, it inspires me to tell anybody who will listen to me about it.
I think that's a struggle for so many people. I'll gladly admit it's still a struggle for me today. If like my water bottle is not right in front of me, it hasn't been all day long. So how much water have I drank today? Definitely not enough. But if it was here in front of me, I would probably mindlessly drink it during calls and different meetings. So, having it in front of you is super, super helpful. One thing I love to correlate is the relationship between hydration and performance. There's a strong correlation between dehydration and decreased performance by up to 20%. That's a huge deal if you are a competitive athlete, or even if you're planning to do the CrossFit Open and you are wanting to perform your best, and your hydration level is not chugging a thing of water in the middle of your workout or right before your workout. Your hydration level is how much water are you consuming days leading up to that event during the day, not just right before. Like you're not going to be, it's not this magic thing where it's like jumping in a pool for your cells of getting hydrated.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely there is a way to go about it, and it really is just like everything else, consistency throughout the day. It's not any one time a day that we do anything that really makes an impact, but it's what we can do long term consistently. And when it comes to hydration, well, I could speak all day about all of my anecdotal evidence for how much better I feel. Research shows us there's benefits, right? It's going to help us maintain our plasma volume. It's going to decrease overall fatigue, and I know a lot of people listening right now, they're going to want that for themselves. It's going to help prevent injuries, especially during physical activity and the recovery process, and reduce the risk for heat exhaustion and heat stroke, especially where you are, Nicole, in Florida, not so much in Chicago.
Right. And I think the other side of the story is, are we overhydrated, right? Like, are we just drinking jugs and jugs of water? That's not necessarily the secret to your weight loss journey. While sometimes we might mistake thirst for hunger, you need to eat. You don't just want to drink your way out of feeling hungry. You can be overhydrated. So we want to drink enough water. And for you guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, Nicole, I am like you and I've had coffee today and that is it, you're not going to go from 0 ounces of water a day to 80 ounces of water. Start off with just having 1 cup for lunch, 1 cup for dinner, and then build up from there so that you don't feel overwhelmed by it being a too big of a step for you. The other thing we want to look at is electrolytes, right? So when we drink water, we also want to look at sodium and the electrolytes that we are consuming as well. There's a lot of different types of electrolyte supplements out there. I know for a lot of the parents that we work with that have kids down here in South Florida, they think like the only way to get their kid electrolytes is through Gatorade bottles that are loaded with sugar. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the only way to consume electrolytes, right? And specifically, we're talking about sodium, magnesium, chloride, potassium, phosphorus. We want to make sure that we are consuming whole foods first. Spinach is a really great source of calcium and magnesium. Pickle juice is something, if you find yourself cramping a lot, that my husband cramps all the time. He actually takes sodium pills and he'll drink pickle juice on a regular basis. Our son is the same way. He cramps after sweating a bunch. So if you find yourself cramping, pickle juice could be a really good option to get in the sodium and the chloride that you need. Nuts are a good source of magnesium, potassium, and calcium. So focusing on whole foods first, not just, oh, I need my electrolytes, so I need to drink a bunch of sugary drinks, not necessarily the whole foods way to get those electrolytes in.
Absolutely. I'm imagining this pickle juice. Is this just like a quick shot of pickle juice, or how are they going about this?
You know, I wouldn't recommend having pickles at our house. Like, take the pickles and then they drink it out of the jar, is typically how it goes around here. So fun fact, in our house, maybe you don't want to have pickle. All right. So when we talk about hydration, the other thing is the liquid intake that what we're consuming other than the water. So if you're drinking coffee, what are you putting in your coffee? Are you putting sugary creamers? And then we, of course, need to go to any juice that you're consuming, sodas, diet sodas. Sugar sweetened beverages are the #1 way that we're getting added sugar as a country into our daily eating routine. So just be mindful of that. If we're having one of those things, I would challenge you to drink a water first. It's actually going to cut down the amount of added sugar that you're having. Diet stuff causes you to crave more sugar. So just because you're having diet doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have calories in it. It still causes you to crave more sugar and carbohydrates. Of course, I would be missing a piece here if we did not talk about alcohol, though. Alcohol specifically related to health and performance. I think when we look at alcohol and sleep, there's a huge correlation between consumption of alcohol and decreased sleep. I was looking up some research when we just redid some of the training, and it was talking about over 1 drink per night for ladies, 1 drink, and over 2 drinks for men decrease in sleep quality by 38%. 38%, like that's a ton. And if you are thinking like, man, I have a lot to do, my days are booked, like, is it worth it, is my question for you, to have the alcoholic beverages at night, to feel sluggish in the morning, to not get your best sleep, to not show up as your best self the next day?
Yeah. And it's interesting because alcohol is one of those things, especially this time of year, that I do see in big swings, right? We just got out of the holiday season, lots of drinks to then no drinks at all. And it's how can we stay mindful at a pace that's consistent? And the other thing that I like to remind people, just because you fell asleep pretty quickly and hard does not mean that the quality of sleep was where it needed to be to feel your best. So don't confuse the two. Just because you passed out and you're in bed does not mean the quality was what you needed for yourself.
Right. We just had Tim Arnold come in and do a virtual training for all of the coaches and gym owners and HSN mentoring. And when some of you guys went out to the breakout rooms, him and I stayed in and we're chatting. And he said, Nicole, did you hear about Canada changing the alcohol recommendations for all of Canadians? And I was like, no, what did they say? And he said that the national Canadian recommendations have now switched from one alcoholic beverage for ladies for men per day to 2 total per week for men and women. Like that's a significant decrease in the amount of recommended alcohol. And it's interesting as you look at the research, like, okay, what's the correlation between alcohol and overall health? There's a lot of correlation between obviously liver disease, but then, cancer and Alzheimer's, a lot of different research around that. So important thing to think about. And then from the other side, if we think about alcohol and performance, this is an interesting piece. So if you're working really hard in the gym and you're looking to build muscle and get stronger and improve performance, you might want to rethink where alcohol is on your regular routine.
Yeah, absolutely. It really has a correlation with slowing down the hormones and everything happening in the process for muscle synthesis. So it makes it harder for us to recover and even further build the muscle that we're wanting to when it comes to getting stronger or changing body composition. One thing I remember talking to you about at one point was the fact that when we drink alcohol, what happens is our body prioritizes the use of the energy that we are getting from alcohol, because it does provide us with a source of calories, which is energy for the body. And so when we do that, it really stops our body from using the food that we should be utilizing for fuel and healthy processes in the body.
When you look at blood sugar regulation, it's all out of whack when we're drinking alcohol and it stays elevated. Typically, our blood sugar will stay elevated all night long. It was super interesting to me in this gym that I'm actually going to mention right now is actually going through training to use our program. And I use them as an example. Often when Jason and I went to the Keys back in 2016 and launched a nutrition challenge, we were talking about where alcohol fits in this nutrition challenge. And the county in the Keys that this gym is in is the #1 drinking county in the US. So let's just say there's a lot of alcohol flowing in the Keys, right? So me saying, okay, let's limit the amount of alcohol probably wasn't going to be very receptive by all of our challenge participants. But what I did notice when they were talking is many of them had a ton of rum runners and these sugary drinks. And that's not only the alcohol calories that your body can't use as energy, it's also a lot of sugar that can't be processed until the alcohol is processed. That's also going to cause your blood sugar to be elevated for extended periods of time. So one simple change they did is they went from all the sugary drinks to like vodka water. And instead of having all of those vodka waters in a row, they would have one water and then a vodka water. And they went kind of back and forth to stay limiting the amount of alcohol they had. And they were able to see significant improvements in like body composition changing because of that simple switch. So alcohol moderation, you need to figure out for yourself if it's drinking is aligning with your health and wellness goals and what you're wanting for yourself.
Yeah, I think that was a really good example. Now, for those listeners, if you are frequent to this podcast, you've heard us say, think about the things that you can add rather than take away. And that really ties into this whole idea being, the end of January. And that was such an easy one. Hey, instead of worrying about decreasing or restricting your alcohol, let's add a glass of water between. And the outcome of that is probably going to be decreased alcoholic beverages anyways.
Absolutely. I'd love to switch gears. The CrossFit Open is right around the corner. I'd love us to just talk about some performance nutrition. Specifically, I think when you think of performance nutrition, a lot of times you think about supplements, right? Performance nutrition, all right, what kind of supplements that am I going to take? Protein supplements, I think, is something that gets a lot of conversations about. Got lots of different types of protein. Whey protein is the gold standard for building muscle mass. What do you say for people that are like, I need to have a protein shake, or I'm going to have this? And yeah, what would you say there?
Yeah, absolutely. Post-workout, whey protein, absolutely. It's fast digesting, which allows our bodies to digest and absorb and utilize the amino acids to promote recovery after a workout. However, Nicole, if you are someone not eating whole foods consistently throughout the day to eat enough protein to meet your needs in a given day, then that whey protein shake you're having 30 minutes after your workout isn't going to make the impact that it should.
Huge point there. So many people after their workout are all about the whey protein shake and they don't prioritize the rest of what's happening throughout the day. You need to focus on that and then add the protein shake if that's what you're needing to do to meet your protein goals for the day. Some of the breakfast options that you might be consuming might not have a ton of protein in them. Oatmeal is a really great example, right? Overnight oats are a great option for on-the-go breakfast. One of the things that we do is we add Greek yogurt and a scoop of protein in basically 3 servings. So we'll do one batch, it's 3 servings, 1 scoop of protein and Greek yogurt, and then you're adding the protein from the Greek yogurt, the protein from the whey, and it's a really great option. So you can also think about how to use whey and incorporate that. I would recommend using it in recipes that you're not cooking with, because when you cook it, it makes the consistency and texture a little bit weird, but that could be an option for you as well. The other protein that goes along with whey, casein. So very different consistency, guys. So whey protein, if you're thinking like protein shake, that's going to be your whey protein. If you're thinking casein, it is not the same consistency as your whey protein shake. You might be unpleasantly surprised.
Yes, I can speak to that because I tried it, was not aware. It's a lot thicker. So drinking it, not as easy. However, you can make a really awesome casein pudding. And I like to talk to my clients, and specifically those clients not getting enough protein or those clients who have performance specific goals, have that as a little treat at the end of the night. Because when we talk about casein, opposite to whey, it is a time release. So it takes longer for our bodies to digest. And studies show that the absorption of the amino acids coming from casein and the start of protein synthesis in the body doesn't peak until about 3 to 4 hours after consumption. And studies have shown it improves recovery and improves the quality of sleep when taken before bed.
Really great point there. Also, if you have a sweet tooth and you really want a little sweet treat at night, casein pudding could be a good option for you. When we talk about supplements, we also want to make sure that we're getting a supplement that is tested. Informed choice, it'll have a stamp on it. The supplement industry is not required to be tested. So all of these different supplement companies out there are not required to test. So what they say on the label might not actually be what is in the bottle. I'll give you a great example. I was with my family a couple weekends ago, and my cousin went to a local like holistic doctor, and they sold her a package of protein that was 14-day supply for like $100. And it was a pea protein, but it wasn't tested. I'm like, man, you are purchasing this person's private label supplement so that they can make more money, and they're not even going through the process of getting it tested, which is really unfortunate. So basically, you don't know what is inside the package is actually on the label until a company proves it by getting a third party to come and test their batches. Ascent protein is what we use at HSN HQ, is what a lot of our recipes are made out of. They have every batch of protein tested. I've been to their plant before. It's really great and good quality. So if you're looking for a protein supplement, try out theirs. Ascent protein is sold on Amazon, Whole Foods. If you're local to Deerfield, definitely stop by the gym.
Yep.
Collagen.
Yeah. Oh, collagen, a super popular over the last few years. A lot more people asking about collagen. I love talking about this. It's actually the most abundant protein found in our body, which is interesting because a lot of performance side, we talk about, oh, whey protein, but collagen, super important. Most of us probably know it helps with our hair and shiny, or nice hair, nice skin and nails, but it also helps with boosting our muscle mass. It is protein for our body and also can prevent bone loss. Again, very, very important for the female population.
The fun fact about collagen is that it doesn't change the consistency or the flavor of the thing that you put it in. So for instance, you can put it in coffee and spoon and mix it up real quick. You cannot taste the difference. So for a lot of our clients, especially the kids that are picky eaters, this could be a good option to add a little bit of protein to whatever food they're consuming because they cannot taste it and they don't even know you're like secretly adding it in. So when we work with a lot of autistic kids that have trouble with textures, this could be a really good option for them. Again, make sure you're getting one that is tested. Bubs collagen protein is one that we use at our HQ location. And again, I've gotten to know the people there, really nice and good quality and of course tested. What about some other supplements, Kayla?
Yeah, another popular one when it comes to performance is magnesium. Now, most people, when they think about magnesium, they think, oh, muscle cramps. And while that's true, it's a really important player when it comes to overall performance. Now, when we think about performance, we think about muscle contraction, our muscles doing work, and calcium helps them contract, while magnesium really supports the ability for them to relax. Now, we also know that magnesium is really important in other processes that are happening as a cofactor to many reactions that are involved with building muscle through protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function, blood sugar regulation, and energy production through a lot of different pathways that I won't dive into today, all helping us to build up energy in the form of ATP in the body, which I am always a big fan of talking about.
Whole foods first, definitely. So nuts, seeds, green leafy vegetables are a powerhouse for vitamins. Our B vitamins, many of them are found in there. Also a good source of magnesium, fish and chicken, beef, dairy. So love all of that. We want to make sure that we're focusing on those whole foods first. What about creatine?
Ooh, creatine, another popular one. Now, creatine has so many benefits, both men and women, and that's the one I get a lot of questions about. But what about women? Studies have shown that muscle creatine is part of an energy system that's super important in the production of energy, or ATP, in the body. We know that creatine improves performance and strength. It increases overall protein synthesis to build up muscle and change body composition. But on the outside of that, studies are also showing that it improves cognition and memory and can aid in weight loss. Now, when it comes to creatine, there's a lot of different ideas on the dose and loading and how much you should take and how often for how long. A safe dose would be about 3 to 5 grams for optimal absorption, no more than 20 grams a day. And that would be for people who are in a loading phase. If this is something that you've thought about, I would highly recommend having a trusted coach or a dietitian or a physician to talk about when it comes to adding creatine at a certain dose based on the results you're wanting for yourself.
Awesome. Next one, BCAAs. So many amino acid supplements out there. I think this is a super popular one. Again, looking at, is it tested? A lot of times BCAAs are also paired with some caffeine in them as well that make you a bit jittery. So what should we be thinking about when we are talking about BCAAs?
Yeah, so BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. We know that this is really important when it comes to different things that need to happen for, again, muscle synthesis. Now, the thing about BCAAs is if you are eating a balanced diet with enough protein, you probably don't need BCAAs. So the people who should take this are those higher level performance athletes or those trying to push the needle in that direction, if they are already eating a balanced diet throughout the day. Remember, it's not one thing that you do at one given time, but what you do consistently. One of the other things I really like to talk about when it comes to branched chain amino acids is it decreases fatigue during workouts through this really fun process that's related to serotonin, which if you're interested, I highly recommend reading about the effects.
Awesome. Last supplement that I want to just mention here around caffeine. So lots of different pre-workout supplements that contain caffeine that leave you super jittery. Should you have caffeine before your workout? Should you not? how much is a good amount to have?
Yeah, this one's touchy. Current research suggests that 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram body mass is sufficient. And here's the thing. Oftentimes when I see those people in the gym with those color pre-workouts full of the sugar, they're getting way more than that. And what happens is when we overdo the caffeine, it actually has the exact opposite effect. We are not as ready for any of the quick movements that we need. And I love Olympic lifting, and that might throw you off, right? Specific bar patterns. It can elevate your heart rate past a helpful amount, which is going to make it harder for you to stay consistent through a longer workout, as you're going to be breathing a little bit heavier and burning through more of that energy. So caffeine, is it helpful for performance? Absolutely, but it is super easy to overdo.
Awesome. About the amount of a cup of coffee is a realistic amount for most people.
Yes, and that's way cheaper than a lot of the supplements out there.
Right, right. All right. So we talked so much today about all the things. We talked about, number one, your mindset around food being fuel and not being so restrictive and not putting your identity based on being a good or a bad person, eating good or bad food or having a cheat day. Like that's not setting you up for long-term success and truly making a lifestyle change where healthy habits become automatic and you're not feeling like you're missing out essentially. We talked about some supplements. I want to and you already actually mentioned this question, but it gets asked so often that I want to just talk about it one more time. For the athletes in our CrossFit classes or any type of classes that think their post-workout shake is going to be the magic solution to a day of not eating balanced whole foods, I'm sorry, but here is the truth. It is not going to do magic and wonders and counteract the other things that are going on throughout the day. So we want to prioritize whole food first. We want to have a balance of macronutrients. Have that protein shake after your workout, perfectly fine, but do not think that protein shake is going to help you build muscle if you're not consuming protein throughout the day. And one of the things that I love to do whenever I'm in our CrossFit classes and my husband's coaching or I'm coaching and someone is talking about, man, that workout is harder than it should be, is starting to connect the dots with people with how they feel after a workout, how they perform with how they sleep and their energy levels and what they eat. And when you can tie all of those pieces together, it just becomes a no-brainer for you to eat whole foods, eat balance, and focus on the things that are in line with what your health and wellness goals are. When you are doing a workout and you're at the end of that workout and you think, man, that is harder than it should have been. First of all, give yourself some grace. Okay. No worries. Like we all have good days. We all have days that we don't feel as strong. That's perfectly normal. But I think the next question is, what did I eat? Did I feel my body? How did I sleep last night? Am I hydrated? What did I eat yesterday? Did I consume alcohol? Like all of these things are influencing how we feel after the workout. And whenever I have these conversations with people, it always comes down to one of those pieces of the puzzle is missing when we take a little bit of an inside look on the rest of the things that are influencing how their workout is feeling and how they're recovering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love those questions.
Big picture. If we were to think of the 3 things people need to keep in mind to associate food as fuel in relation to health, wellness, and performance nutrition, what's the first thing that you would say?
Food is fuel, not who you are. They're not inherently good or bad. And with that, you are not inherently good or bad based on a food you decided to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Second thing I would say is, think about the core principles of healthy subs nutrition, or just think about what's the filter that you are making nutrition decisions? Are you eating whole foods first? Are you focusing on balance? Because adding more of that stuff in is going to help you feel satisfied, help you feel full, help you feel fueled, and ultimately help you recover for those workouts and get a good night's sleep because it's all interconnected. Mm-hmm. The last thing I would say is the secret to success, the secret to people who are losing 50, 100 pounds, that are seeing good results, that are maintaining it for the lifetime, is creating a plan that's going to work for you, that you can stick to, that you can do consistently, doing these super restrictive diets. I mean, at this point, most people are done with the diet phase of the year. Like we're out of the cycle of the New Year's resolutions almost, but you need to create a plan that works. And if I'm honest, most people don't know how to create that plan, and they really need someone to keep them accountable. And that's why we have our coaching program. That's why it's set up the way it is. We're actually launching a 28-day health, wellness, and performance nutrition challenge where you will have the opportunity to meet with a registered dietitian twice, at the beginning and at the end, have group support, group engagement, focusing on the 4 pillars: nutrition, movement, mindset, and sleep, so that you can create a healthy lifestyle that's going to last. It's not going to be super restrictive. So if you are looking for support, if you are looking to get rid of all the different fad diets that you have done in the past and truly make health a way of life, we'd love to walk beside you. We'd love to help you. This challenge is kicking off on February 13th, although individual appointments are actually starting this week with the dietitian. So February 1st, they are starting to meet with challenge participants. So if you would like to join, we have a few spots left. Click the link in the show notes and you can lock in your spot today. Kayla, you play such a vital role in the company with coach development. You lead the other side of the company where we're training nutrition coaches. You love all the science stuff. We're actually doing a performance nutrition webinar that you're leading shortly for all of our nutrition coaches to equip them with more knowledge and education so that they can support their nutrition clients. Any kind of final thoughts as we wrap up today?
Yeah, I love what you said about long-term success. There's no such thing as a magic pill, but if there was, it would be consistency.
I love it. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you back here soon.
See you soon.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Kayla. Once you start switching your mindset to seeing food as fuel so that you can make decisions that are in line with your health and wellness goals, you'll start feeling empowered and happy that you're making decisions not restricted by the foods that you're eating. You don't need a restrictive diet. You need a healthy lifestyle to become the best and healthiest version of yourself. Now, if you're ready to lock in your spot to take the next step and have a guide and a community support you, we would love for you to join us for the 28-day Health, Wellness, and Performance Challenge at Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ. Now, there are in-person and virtual spots available. We have 2 registered dietitians and one of our nutrition coaches that actually speaks Portuguese leading this nutrition challenge. It is going to be an awesome opportunity for you to kickstart your journey to health, and we would love for you to join our community. Click the link in the show notes to lock in your spot today. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss another episode.